the perspective that Luke looks from is through the eyes of the people who were on the island. So think about this. Their first thought is, this man just survived a shipwreck. Here he is building a fire, and a snake jumps out the fire and latches onto his hand and holds on. Luke was a physician by trade, so he spoke in very specific details. That it was odd that the snake did not move until the snake was aroused by the heat in the fire. And when the snake bit Paul, the snake didn't let go. The snake just held on. So that's verse 3. Verse 4. Seeing the snake hanging from Paul's hand like that, the natives jumped to the conclusion that he was a murderer getting his just deserts, or getting what he deserved. Because here's all the people knew on the island, that this man was a prisoner who just survived a shipwreck. And they said he might have survived the water, but God gonna kill him with this snake. Verse 5. Paul shook the snake off into the fire, none the worse for wear. That means nothing happened to him. So first they're looking at it. Snake jumps out the fire, latches on to him. Here's how you know you need Jesus. Nowhere in the text does it say anybody tried to grab the snake and pull the snake off. They just sitting there watching him. We know they're watching him because they got time to watch him, because the snake latched on and held on. And Paul shakes the snake off into the fire, and it didn't hurt him. Verse 6. They kept expecting him to drop dead, but when it was obvious he wasn't going to, they jumped to the conclusion that he was a god. He's a devil one minute and a god the next. Okay, why did Luke tell us that? What did Luke want Theophilus to learn from the fact that Paul survived a shipwreck in 27 and survived a snake in 28? What did Luke want Theophilus to learn? When you read Luke 1 and Acts 1, what Luke says to Theophilus is, the reason I am telling you all these things is so that you can understand the faith that you are standing on. You know why I want you to fall in love with God? So that you can understand the faith that you are standing on. And if you know that God can bring you through shipwrecks and snakes, you can make it at Shands, you can make it at the VA, you can make it in Gainesville, you can make it in Alachua County. Because the same God who took care of Paul, sailors, shipwreck, and snakes can take care of you, your kids, your grandkids, and everybody else who's connected to you. This also tells us that people will judge you when they don't have all the facts. It also tells you that some people who will judge you one way today will judge you another way, not tomorrow, just give them about 15 minutes. Which means some people are wishy-washy. They're unstable. The Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Here's why this is so important. If you start trusting in shaky-minded people, don't get mad at God when they shake up on you. Takes you right back to the reasons it is so important to allow God to direct you is because you have decisions to make. You're deciding on relationships. You're going to decide on things like investments. And if you're listening to somebody whose talk sounds good at 8 a.m., but you don't know how they're going to talk around 9:30, God will teach you to trust in him by any means necessary. I was talking to God today. about our country. I was praying so hard. I said, Lord, what we going to do? We appear to be in such turmoil. And the Lord revealed something to me. That thing, Harry, it just blessed my heart. Lord says, maybe you all are getting what you deserve. And the reason I'm not going to take you out of it as quickly as you want to get out of it is because you haven't learned the lessons that got you into it in the first place.